Think revival. The Swiss Chalet, you see how the cross windows are developed. Yeah, feel free to chime in here anytime you want to.
Cost $10,000.
Jim Combs, our historic preservation director for the city. But this is, the architect on this structure was a Manson Gilbert. Manson Gilbert was famous for his arches. I actually lived in a Manson Gilbert house at 1214 Parrott Street in my youth. Well, I say my youth, about 30 years ago. Yeah, Manson Gilbert, really enriched the neighborhood, from 1908 to about 1918 when he joined the Army. So, came back here and worked on this. But the cost on this house back then was about $10,000. So. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. All right.
You know just.
The Taylor Van Orman house, built in 1895. Okay. Notice how you have the twin gables in the front there, and along with the fish scale. So, it was really big on trying to, accentuate, the gables in some form. So, and we'll see some other examples of that down the road here.
The shingle style, which is that's one of the other things about Evansville that makes it comparatively unique, is that they combine classical with shingle style right next to each other. And somehow make it work.
Have any more history on that?
What Cook family was this?
Well, the thing is that the limestone,
William Cook
whiter
House.
limestone is usually Green River, Kentucky stone, and the grayer stone is usually what they call Bedford or Indiana Bedford stone.
Yeah, so notice it has the fish scale on the dormer and the clay tile on the roof.
William Cook House.
The windows upstairs, like a kind of patterning.
At the very top there?
Well, no, just in the second floor.
Oh, the second floor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. The windows are an interesting style. That is a leaded window.
Oh yeah.
Actually, all the top. Yeah.
Well, you can see the same pattern
Right, on the upper part. So.
And the reason why they're leaded is that lead is very soft, and so they can hold something in while doing it very delicately. So the differential expansion between glass, wood, and lead, that's a nice way of regulating the glass panes so that they don't crack on you.
Yeah. And the lead, the maintenance on lead compared to wood is a lot easier. So a little more costly at the initial step though. Original homes for the Parrott Estates. This whole area here, section was part of Parrott. Built in 1860, it's a Gothic architectural style. Dwelling here, okay, blah. I remember one of the stories that Joni Marchand, one of the earlier Evansville preservationists, was telling about how there was a individual who owned the house who actually had a manufacturing, was it fabric or doing
manufacturing became later his part.
What was that? Was it
Gans was the
Gans?
man.
That's all right.
That's why
Thank
you
you.
got the G on the limestone.
Yeah.
Here.
Sure. But they had a button driveway here. And that button driveway was, all, the misprints and misstamped buttons. They would fill the bucket up and they just throw them in the driveway. So it was a neat story. I just remember that and I loved it. So it's a neat house. So, okay.
Owned by Shane Manufacturing owner, Gans, G-A-N-Z, and the buttons in the driveway from the departments, from the Shane Manufacturing.
11, the bungalow style house. Notice how the brick, and you're going to see another example of this on the Parrott Street. brick gets out, you know, and kind of give you a 3D effect. So, this is a Charles Barnett, excuse me, who was a Hercules buggy salesman. So, there is, I'm sorry?
He must have did very well.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I'm looking for a cost here, but $5,000. So, half the cost of the $10,000 one we passed. So, neat house, neat area. I've been down here for 30 years, you know, I've raised my daughters here and enjoyed every minute of it.
It's quiet.
It is quiet.
From here back, it's quiet. From here that way.
1863, Jeremiah Burns.
But
Looks a little like the Garvin house down on First.
it does, yeah. But definitely one of the oldest in the neighborhood.
The last Hollingsworth died in the house.
Hollingsworth lived there for 100 years.
It wasn't.
Sculptress ties into the arts district. I think she taught at Culver as an art teacher.
No. Good. Was it Culver or was it Evansville? School?
It'd been Campbell. It'd been Campbell.
Campbell.
School. Yeah.
Campbell School. Yeah.
Which one are we talking about now?
1890, Queen Anne's
So-
architecture.
Hey, Cookie. Good. Luckenheimer, importers and dealers in glass, china, and lamps. So he developed his house. Nancy, have you anything to say about it? Okay. It has. American four-square architectural design.
The guy that owned this home started the first taxi cab service in the city of Evansville. But back then, when he started it, the automobiles were so loud that they backfired and they made all the people down the street that had the horse and buggies mad because it upset the horses, so he went out of business.
There you go. So, thanks for your input.
Yeah, we've lived here 25 years. We love it now.
Yes, you have. Great. Okay.
Four-square house. Guy that owned the taxi cab company had this house.
Preservation tour.
The four-square architecture, popular 1890 to 1910. Another bungalow, very
Victor
popular.
Custer House.
Custer,
Built in
Victor Custer.
1910. So, notice how even the chimney has the jetting brick style. So, four-square design. So, let's see, Glettman built this house, like I said, in 1909. So, the current owners have done a lot of work on this. It's a beautiful attic. It's really, really neat, you know, how well the house has been maintained. So,
Architect Slaughter.
yep. The modern architecture. So, built in 1923. $480,000 building at that time. So obviously it would go for a lot more today. They're in the process of reworking a lot of the apartments, but one of the unique features of this, when it was built, it was, you know, the size of the units in comparison to a lot of the units. You know, this is it was more of an upscale dwelling unit, you know, for rental property. So,
Show a year on when it was built.
1923.
Wow,
Yeah, back in it was. You're exactly right. So, Google Maps, and you can see the satellite view of it. It's got the E-shaped formation. So, you get your sections that kind of jet out. So,
Well, one of the signatures of the Art Moderne style is the emphasis on horizontal lines. And
Yeah.
you can see that through the brick patterns and the water tables.
I was going to mention that. At the time, too, it was also developed with terrazzo floors for easy maintenance. So, we're going to go down. It is actually called a Tudor Revival.
Tudor
This home was
Revival.
built in 1927.
1927 Tudor Revival.
The occupant for years was a lady who was the secretary of the neighborhood association. So very neat lady. Learned a lot off of her, especially about how to keep things in place. She was a very neat person. So
Catherine
this again
Kunkler.
is a Tudor Revival. Yeah, we have a lot of ivy on it, but
Catherine Kunkler.
you can almost see it. So Revival. So you notice how you got the layers and the rounded archway on the front. Not a Mansley Gilbert house, but an Esther, let's see, Frederick Schultz took on a building permit to construct this house for $3,500 at that time. I hope he didn't lie to us when he got the building permit. So,